Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest who positively impacts our community. Today, I welcome Alzheimer's Association Orange County Chapter Executive Director Deborah Levy. The organization provides support services, care options, and education for families and caregivers in Orange County. Thank you, Deborah, for being on Impact OC.
Dawn, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting us.
Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior. Symptoms eventually grow severe enough to interfere with daily tasks. I have to say, this topic is close to my heart. My 88-year-old mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in January, and she's living in a memory care center. Well, Deborah, what's the difference between Alzheimer's disease and dementia?
Dawn, first of all, I just want to tell you that I'm sorry to hear about your mom, and we've been talking before the show about it, so thank you for publicly sharing it with the community. As you personally know, Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and when we think about dementia, we talk about it as being an umbrella term, and there are different kinds of dementia that fall underneath that. Alzheimer's being the most common form of dementia, but there are other forms: vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal lobe dementia. That's the type of dementia that Bruce Willis, the actor, has. So all of that falls under an umbrella term that's called dementia.
About how many people are living with Alzheimer's disease in California?
It's staggering. We have over 720,000 Californians currently living with Alzheimer's disease. It's the largest of any other state in the United States.
Why is that?
Don't know the answer.
Well, how does that impact their daily lives and those of their loved ones?
Well, I think that you could share a little bit about your personal situation, what's going on with your mom, and you're one microcosm of 720,000 Californians who are living with this disease. So if you're willing to share, what it's like for you.
Well, I visit my mom, and you just learn where she is, and you make sure she smiles and keep her comfortable. That's the most important thing. And a smile, knowing she knows who I am. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the caregivers who take care of her.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a continuum, right? So Alzheimer's disease is a disease that starts out oftentimes with just mild cognitive impairment, and then it goes to the mild stage, the medium stage, and then a late stage of the disease. And at the late stage of the disease, and you were sharing this with me before, individuals don't have as much control over their lives, so they really do need help with everything from bathing to feeding to walking. And that really does impact families. So we've talked about the sheer volume of people just in this state. There are over 7 million Americans living with the disease, and that doesn't take into account the family members who are also impacted. Being a caregiver is really hard work, whether you're a paid caregiver, and God bless the paid caregivers, on this planet, but family members who are providing unpaid care and trying to balance going to work, taking care of kids, and taking care of maybe a parent or a spouse who's living with the disease.
How does the Alzheimer's Association Orange County chapter help?
We do a lot of things, so I'm going to just talk briefly about 3 things in what we call our care and support department. The first is our 800 number, which is our helpline. It's a 24/7 helpline. The number is 1-800-272-3900. It is manned by master's level clinicians every day, any time of the day. And they can provide answers free of charge to an individual who just got a diagnosis, like they just need to talk to somebody. It could be you have a loved one who's been diagnosed and they live in New York because we're a national organization, and you need to find resources, in the community that your family member lives in. So we can provide resources in that community. We can answer the call in over 200 different languages. So I think it's an invaluable resource.
Well, give us that number again, and I want you to give us the website. In case they don't catch the number, they can perhaps go to the website.
That's a great idea. So 1-800-272-3900, and our website is alz.org, alz.org. There's two other things that I want to mention in terms of some of the community support that we provide here that are, again, free of charge. We do education programs. We can do them for corporate, we can do them for businesses, we can do them for faith-based organizations, on a variety of topics like healthy brain in your body, understanding Alzheimer's disease. We have a whole series about caretaking for caregivers, financial planning, legal planning. So we do those kinds of workshops, education workshops, free of charge. We also run support groups in our community. We run 8 of them in Orange County, but they happen all over the country, and we have many that are online, and they're in various languages. So in Orange County, we have some that meet in person, we have some that are virtual, we have one that's Spanish speaking only, we have one that's Vietnamese speaking only. And those are just a few of the resources that we provide.
And share with us the reaction you get from people who experience some of those resources.
I think that it feels very alone when you get a diagnosis of Alzheimer's of a loved one, and people need a place that they can turn to get support, whether it's, attending a support group and people understand what you're going through. We have support groups also for not only caregivers or care partners, but we also have support groups for individuals living with the disease, because they're both going through different things at the same time.
Can you give us an idea of what a person who has Alzheimer's disease is going through based on what you've heard?
I think it's scary. I think I think it's really scary. I can't personally talk about what it feels like.
But what do you hear from other people that they recall that person going through?
Well, I think it's sad that they know that there's something that's wrong that's going on, especially in the early stages. They can tell there's something that's just not right. And I want to mention that it's not just part of the normal aging process that you start losing, memory and cognition. So people know, and getting a diagnosis is also very scary.
And when family members reach out to you, how do they feel after they get in touch with your organization?
They have told us that we're a lifeline and a lifesaver for them, for sure. There's a lot that we do outside of like the care and support too. There are things that I want your listeners to know about. One is our research. So we are the world's largest funder of nonprofit research, Alzheimer's research globally, behind the United States government and the Chinese government. So I'm going to say that again. We fund more Alzheimer's and dementia research than any other nonprofit, and we are the leader in connecting the global scientific community to learn, collaborate, and share for maximum impact. Currently, we're funding about $430 million worth of best-in-class research globally on 6 continents. And in Orange County alone, we're funding $3.5 million worth of research at UCI Mind. So very proud of, the money that we raise, having that go toward research. And there's a really exciting time for us in the space. The 2 first drugs have now been approved that actually slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. That's groundbreaking. That's going to give individuals more time to spend with their family, more time to get their finances and, their lives in order. That is incredible. And there's so much research now and clinical trials that are happening that we know there's going to be more coming down quickly. Another thing that I do want to mention that was groundbreaking that just happened in May was the FDA approved the first blood test that can, just like you take a blood test to show whether you have the hallmark signs of like heart disease, you HDL, LDL, there's now a blood test to detect the hallmark signs of dementia, Alzheimer's disease in the blood. So it's a less invasive, less expensive way that physicians, especially primary care doctors, if you live in a rural community, that they can have this test done to see whether an individual has amyloid plaque, in their blood. So that's a very exciting time for us. The other thing I want to mention is our public policy work that we do. We're the only organization that does advocacy and public policy at the federal level and in all 50 states. And we really rely on people like you who are willing to share their story with lawmakers so that we can make sure that there's funding from the National Institutes on Health and National Institutes on Aging for Alzheimer's and dementia research, new laws need to be passed. So we have an incredible opportunity to volunteer with our organization if people are willing to lend their voice and be able to go with us to Sacramento or to Washington, D.C. to advocate on behalf of those living with dementia and their care partners.
There was a conference. What came out of that conference regarding Alzheimer's?
So the Alzheimer's Association International Conference is the conference that just wrapped up in Toronto, Canada. We are this is the biggest scientific conference globally. And one of the things that I wanted to tell the listeners about, so we talked about the blood test and the 2 new drugs that can slow the progression of the disease. We, the Alzheimer's Association, did what's called the U.S. Pointer Study. It was a 2-year clinical trial, and it actually found that healthy behaviors have a powerful impact on brain health. So physical exercise, health monitoring, nutrition, and cognitive exercise actually slowed the progression of the disease. And it was really exciting. So now we know that if you do these risk modifying things in your life, you watch your diet, you're using your brain, doing puzzles and those kinds of things, you're having somebody monitor your health, you're getting good nutrition and exercise, that really does have an impact on your cognition.
You have some special events coming up this fall. The Walk to End Alzheimer's events in Orange County. There's one in September 20th in South Orange County, October 4th in the greater Irvine area, and November 8th in Huntington Beach. Can you share more about the Walk to End Alzheimer's and how can people get involved?
Okay, well, this is my favorite event of the entire year. It is our biggest community-facing event. In Orange County, it's the 3rd largest walk run out of all of the walk runs that take place in our community. So I'm really proud of that. I think it's like our largest support group. Yes, we're raising money. There's no entry fee to take part in the walk. It's not anything that's competitive. It's family friendly. It's wheelchair friendly. But it's really important that people show support for individuals who are living with the disease, their care partners. People carry these iconic flowers and they hold them during our opening ceremonies. So if you hold a yellow flower, you're a care partner. If you hold a blue flower, you're an individual who's living with the disease. If you carry a purple flower, you've lost someone to the disease. And if you carry the orange flower, you believe in a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. And that at every walk across the country, and we have 600 of these from coast to coast that happen in the fall, the 3 that you mentioned in Orange County, there's only one white flower that is held. And the white flower signifies our first survivor and the hope for a first survivor. It's a really powerful event. We raise a significant amount of money, but more importantly, it's about the community coming together to stand up against this disease.
And when it comes to this disease, it seems like everybody realizes the importance of research. Explain.
I mean, research is where we're going to find that cure. I want to tell your listeners about our trial match program because it's on our website, alz.org. And it's an easy to use free matching service that connects individuals living with cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's disease, another dementia. It also connects care partners and healthy participants with current research that's taking place. And we need a diverse population participating in clinical trials. Not all of the trials that are on Trial Match are invasive. You know, some of these are like health monitoring. So there's a wide variety of clinical trials that are out there, and an easy way to find one and be able to participate and help. You don't have to be living with the disease. You could be healthy and take part in some research project, is just using our Trial Match program.
Volunteer opportunities. Explain.
We are a large voluntary health organization. I have 6 paid staff in my chapter. That's it, to do all of the work that we do. We rely heavily on volunteers, and we have really incredible volunteer opportunities. You can learn to be a community educator. So let's say you're a retired educator, you've got some time on your hands, we will train you to go out and give one of our free education programs in the public. We need folks to sit at health fairs because we want to raise awareness about the disease, and we want to be in the community as much as possible. We have advocates, these are volunteers who are giving of their time, and they will come with us to Sacramento and Washington, D.C. and be willing to share how Alzheimer's has impacted their lives. And then we have other volunteer opportunities like working in our office or sitting on one of our committees. We need help with our Walk to End Alzheimer's, which is coming up, as you mentioned. We need people just day of to help us unload boxes and give out water. So ways that they can reach us for that, if they're interested, is on our website. And if you do the alz.org/OC, you'll come directly to our chapter.
Now, when someone finds out that a friend has Alzheimer's, how should they react to a loved one to that friend?
That's a really good question. I think because everybody's situation is very different, it would be great if they called, our 800 number and got some advice from one of our master's level clinicians. I've heard from individuals, especially those who've been diagnosed with early onset, so they're younger. They can be in their late 40s, 50s, 60s, that it can be really difficult when somebody says, well, you're young. You don't look like you have, Alzheimer's. It can be really hurtful. So I would say to be sensitive, call our 800 number, get some advice, and
give that 800 number again. And I want to say that I've called that 800 number and I get a human being.
You do get a human being, 100%. It's 800-272-3900.
And anything you want to know about Alzheimer's, you can call them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So give us the website again for more information, please.
It's alz.org. And again, we're a national organization with 75 chapters across the country. We're in every community. So if somebody's living here listening, but they have a loved one in a different place, they can contact us. And I just want them to know that we're here for everyone.
You're here for everyone. Well, thank you, Alzheimer's Association Orange County Chapter Executive Director Deborah Levy, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.